What we measure, we can improve. That's how, as a coach or an English teacher, I find the best ways to help my learners succeed. Things can get tough, and improving isn't easy. The key is to assess the progress they are making, to know what they can
Oh.
do, so I can give feedback that will help build their confidence and keep them motivated. With Cambridge, assessment is integrated with learning, helping me measure and guide my learners' progress, so they learn what they need to succeed, to get the most from every moment, to help their worlds grow. Because Cambridge is where your world grows.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. We are so very happy to have you here with us today. So, thank you very, very much for joining us. My name is Sabrina. I am a marketing executive for the Southern Cone and Andes region, and I am joining you from Buenos Aires, Argentina. And I would really, really like to know where you are joining us today from. Here we have some comments here that you're joining from Argentina, Ecuador. So nice to have you here. So today's session, it's Little Learners, Big Ideas, Creativity, and English at Pre-Primary. And I have to say that I am super excited about this session today. But before we start, there are a few things that I would love to go through with you today. In the following days, you will be receiving a follow-up email with the certificate of attendance and the recording link of this session. So pay attention to your emails. As you probably already noticed, microphones and cameras are off, but feel free to leave your comments and questions in the chat box. Um, there is also a Q&A chat where you can leave your questions and we'll go back to them at the end of the session. And after the session, you will see that a survey from Zoom will pop up. We would really appreciate if you could take 2 seconds to complete it. It's a 2-question survey, so it's literally 2 seconds to complete it. And for us, your feedback is very, very important because it helps us improve for our upcoming sessions. Before we start, I also wanted to let you know about this new tool. Maybe some of you already know about this. If not, let me introduce you to the Teachers Hub. It's a pilot website from Cambridge. It's a free site where you will have access to a new AI lesson planner that will help you in many ways, but mostly it will save you a lot of time and energy. And you will also find a lot of teaching resources and have access to interactive versions of teachers' books such as Unlock, Think, and Supermind. I'm sorry, if you can scan the QR code here to access the site right now, or if not, you will be receiving the link to this site on the follow-up email, okay? So, it's a pleasure for me to introduce you to today's speaker, Claire Ross. Hi, Claire.
Hi.
So let me tell you a little bit about Claire before we start. Claire is a training consultant and education expert with over 20 years of experience in ELT. She works with Cambridge University Press and Assessment to train and support teachers in universities and schools across the world. Claire developed the online British Council Assured Certificate for Teacher Educators and created online teacher training courses for Future Learn. Currently, she is supporting the creation of teacher communities of practice in Ukraine and finalizing an EL teacher training project for the Punjabi Ministry of Education. She has published her work with Isabel Grape on supporting language teachers in Lebanon to integrate Syrian refugee children. Claire, thank you so much for being here today with us. The floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Sabrina, and hello everyone and welcome. Maybe you've seen me before. I have been to some of your countries with Cambridge, so let me know if you have seen me before in a webinar or face-to-face, but great to be with you. Okay, so let's get started. I'm excited about today's webinar because I do love talking about and talking with teachers of the youngest children. I hope today will give you some new ideas. It will make you think about your current practice and that you'll also pick up some things from each other. So I'm hoping there'll be lots of interaction in the chat today. This is what we're going to do. So we're going to look especially at creativity in our classrooms, think about how it supports whole child development as well as language learning. And we'll be looking at lots of creativity tips and activities that you can put into practice in your classrooms. So your first task is, I have 3 quotes here from 3 different types of people, and they're all about creativity. I wonder if you can guess or if you know who said what. So which quote is from an artist, which is from a poet, and which is from someone who works in education. So you can have a think, put it in the chat with the number of the quote. Do you think number 1 was the artist, or was it the poet or the education advisor? What do you think? Are you familiar with any of these? Have you heard these before? Maybe you know the people that said them. Okay, some different ideas here. I'm going to share. Aha, we have some names coming in. All right, well, here we go. So the first one was a poet, maybe you know, the wonderful Maya Angelou, saying we can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. The second is from someone I greatly admire in the world of education, Ken Robinson, who talked a lot about creativity. And finally, someone said, the artist Pablo Picasso, well done. So there's lots of different ways of thinking about creativity, and creativity is very important when we're talking about teaching and learning. Perhaps you've heard of the Cambridge Life Competencies Framework. Now, this came about as really the result of requests from teachers like you who were saying, okay, we teach English, but we're teaching much more than that. But how can these, bigger skills, life skills, how can those be integrated into our English classes? So Cambridge came up with this framework which divides these important life competencies into those that you can see on the screen. And there's creativity right at the top. So it really highlights the key skills there from the very youngest age and how these are developed all the way up to adult. And this to me really encapsulates that idea of holistic learning. We know that we teach much more than English. I'm sure you're thinking, and I teach much more than all of these things in my pre-primary classroom. Absolutely. And these skills, they can't really be taught in isolation, but we are going to focus in on creativity today. That's going to be in the spotlight. The QR code is if you want to know more about this framework and the background, but just to give you just a spot of an overview, creativity in this framework is divided into 3. So 3 core areas, if you like. So preparing for creativity, generating ideas, and then implementing ideas and solving problems. So maybe have those 3 parts of creativity in mind as we are going through and think about how they relate. I just allow me one more quote from Maria Montessori, who says, as I'm sure you know, the education of even a small child does not aim at preparing him for school, but for life. So that's very much our focus today. So we know we are preparing children for primary school, but more than that, preparing them to be human beings and older children in the world. All right, so over to you again, drawing on your experience. Can you complete this sentence, please, in the way you think is best? So children learn best when they are what? Thank you, Sylvia, for starting us off. I'm getting happy, motivated, having fun, playing, comfortable, focused, lots of happy and motivated again there, relaxed environment. Thank you. Okay, I can see a theme there. Well, the reason I asked this is I found, again, two very interesting quotes from research on creativity and learning. And here's what they said. Children can learn best when they're actively engaged in the process and can make connections to previous knowledge, and when the learning takes place in a socially interactive environment. So to me, creative activities are fitting really nicely in there. I'm thinking about the engagement, I'm thinking about making connections to what they know of the world, and especially creativity that's collaborative as well. And the second one, and again, this is very linked to what you've been saying. So it's about having this engagement, having their attention captured. And here they're mentioning the importance of play. So play as a source of learning. And as we know, this is especially inseparable at preschool. So we will be talking about creative play and the vitality of this to the learning in our classrooms. So what I'm trying to do, it's not easy, but I'm throwing in lots of different things today, and I've tried to put them into different groups. Now there's quite a bit of overlap, but you'll bear with me, I'm sure. And we're going to start off with using music and movement. So the first thing I'm going to do here is play you some music, and I want your ideas of how you might get children to respond creatively to this piece of music. And enjoy the music. Are you ready? Okay, I can see some people playing Name That Tune in the chat box. What would you do? How could you use this music in your classroom? Do you ever use a piece of classical music like this? How could you get children responding to this in a creative way? Goodness me. So we've got, thinking it's from Harry Potter. I can't confirm that. But I've got people saying they will work better to music. So as a background music, that's interesting for concentration sometimes. And creating a fairy tale, says Jennifer, or story, or a role play. Interesting. Engaging children in the learning process. So Amar, you're thinking about that research there. Right, now we've got ideas of acting and making theatre to the music. Okay, I love that. Drawing to the music, that's a lovely idea. Mario and Sheila, you've got similar ideas. Or draw following the rhythm. I will share with you that I remember an activity from my own preschool at the age of 4, is that I did exactly that, and that's something I think is a lovely idea for children is drawing, giving them any materials you have and getting them just to listen to a piece of music and just draw or make marks in whatever way they want. What a wonderful way to express themselves. And we can find out more then by engaging with the children afterwards and finding out what it is, how they felt about the music, why they did this, what does this mean to them? Yes. All right, we've got dancing as well. That's wonderful. Okay. So music is a wonderful resource for our classroom. Well, it still wants to go on. I wonder, did we mention all of these things? Yes. So dancing and actions. And again, yes, absolutely, Anna Paulina. So we're starting to bring in lots of vocabulary here as well, how we can use our bodies and move our bodies. What about singing along? Now, that song didn't have words, that music didn't have words, but the songs we have in class, learners can get to know the words, start to learn them, even miming the songs or miming the music before the words are coming. Really good for oracy. Making music themselves, perhaps you could play a piece of classical music and then explore some ways to make music in your classroom. And that doesn't have to be musical instruments, but whatever you have, a box with rice or something children can bang and make noise on. So we can always improvise, I think, with creativity. We don't have to feel that we need all those perfect toys and tools in the classroom, although it is lovely if we have them. And then I've put on here adding music to games. So playing music as a start or stop signal. So children, it helps with understanding what to do. So for example, if you're playing a vocabulary game with flashcards, children might be walking in a circle in time to the music or clapping their hands. And then when the music stops, you're giving a direction and they perhaps go and touch the class flashcard or find an animal or find something blue and then start the music again and off they go. And yes, we've got now lyrics for the songs. Okay, so that's lovely. Love that idea. We've got just relaxing the class as well. Yeah, really, really lovely ideas. Talking of lyrics as well, I think a fun activity is with a favourite song, sometimes changing some of the lyrics or asking children for their own ideas. I like to do this with Old MacDonald's Farm, so children can suggest other animals. That's a great way of feeding in vocabulary if they know the animal they want, but in their first language, we can teach them that word in English and then they can think of the sound that they make. So any animals go with Old MacDonald. Could be anything, snakes or flies, dinosaurs, whatever the children want. Okay, another activity. Yes, let's do an action song. Okay, now I can't see you, but I'm going to play a song, and I should say today, I'm taking lots of examples and ideas, and the songs and the videos are all from Cambridge Little Steps. So give me a yes in the chat if you are using Cambridge Little Steps. And if you're not, that's okay. You'll find out more about it and you can use lots and lots of the ideas yourselves as well. Okay, I'm going to play a song from Cambridge Little Steps. As you listen, I want you to think about what actions could you put with this song. Ready? Off we go.
Song, One Little Flower.
One little flower standing in a row, blue and yellow, watch it grow. Two little flowers standing in a row, blue and yellow, watch them grow. Three little flowers standing in a row, blue and yellow, watch them grow. Four little flowers standing in a
Okay, I wonder if you were dancing along to the song like I was there. Okay, so what kind of actions were you thinking you could get the children to do while they listen to this song? So it's a nice one to get children up and moving. What could you get them doing? We've got little flowers growing. That would be nice, wouldn't it? So they could start off small and then growing like the flowers, standing up, dancing, just dancing to the music in the way that they like to, spinning around. I've got people thinking, yes, it's about colours. So what could we do? Maybe we could have different colours in the classroom. They could be pointing to or touching or jumping while they're we've got counting in there as well. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Right, lots of things. With our action song, you're only limited by yourself. Let yourself be free and creative as well.
Song.
Oh, we won't listen again. Okay, we're moving to the next section now, and I want to talk here about stories. So stories, so important in our pre-primary classroom, and so important when we're learning our first language as well. So much vocabulary and meaning that comes through stories. And there are many creative ways that we can use stories as well. So again, your ideas about stories, please. I'm going to play you a story and I want you to think of creative activities you could use with this story. Are you ready?
The Coconut Band.
Mike is a happy gorilla. He can do many things with his hands and feet. He can jump, jump, jump. He can tap, tap, tap. Mike and Annie are happy gorillas. The Coconut Band. The Coconut Band can play together. They can sing and have fun.
We are the Coconut Band. We can jump, jump, jump. We can tap, tap, tap. We are the Coconut Band.
Right, so your ideas, please. So the Happy Gorillas and the Coconut Band. What could we do with this story? So I played it as a video, but there's other options. There's the big book version, or you could read the story aloud. So what can we do with this story? Sylvia, great idea. We could perform it. So probably the first time you'd let children enjoy the story and start to get to know it a little bit. But there's so many things we can do to get children working creatively with it. What else? Drawing about the story. Yes, doing a role play. Right, let's have children pretending to be gorillas and doing the things that the gorillas did in the band. The actions, let's focus on the actions. Yes, we can show the movements that the gorillas are doing and reinforce those action words as well. Do you remember what they were? Jump and tap and sing as well. Yes, creating the gorillas with different materials, so a craft activity, that sounds lovely. A song, why not? And we can make up our own song here as well, although I'm sure there is one that comes up later in this unit. Lots of ideas. So here are some other suggestions. Did we talk about these? So thinking about before we do the story, we can get children's imaginations going then, right? And anticipation. So showing a picture, getting them to guess, predict what the story might be about. Asking questions is a great way to stimulate creative thought. Maybe showing some props from the story and asking what the story could be about. Maybe a coconut. And then during the story, again, lots of ways to engage the children. making sure they're focused on the story, pointing out as we're reading or as the video is playing, and asking open questions as well. Again, that's a great way to get children thinking. And then the after time, this is where we're thinking about, okay, how can we really make the most out of this? So you've said role play and acting, yes, dressing up, and maybe some pretend play, just letting children go and interpret the story in their own way. We mentioned drawing. How about remembering the story as well? That can work when children start to understand the narrative. Maybe we could show the pictures again and start to tell the story, see if the children can supply any words or see if they remember anything from the story or from the narrative. And yes, I'm seeing more ideas in the chat about miming. And yes, recycled materials, why not? Let's make some musical instruments. We could make our own coconut bands. So stories are wonderful things, but we don't always need stories with words, right? And this was a book I very much enjoyed using with little ones. It has, as you can see in the picture on the left, pictures that are in two halves, and the children can move the top and bottom half of this book and make some really funny and crazy animals and people and situations. Now, you don't have to buy a book like this. You just need a ring binder, cut it in half and follow this kind of idea. So you have, make sure that in the middle, the lines line up. So you can draw a pizza, an ice cream, a bee, a car, a fish, just like these, any ideas from vocabulary you want children to learn and practice, and then have some fun with some crazy mix-ups. So it's a wonderful thing for children just to enjoy and have fun with, but also to be introducing vocabulary, having fun with language, and there's always lots and lots of laughter with this one. As I said, we don't always need a story with words at all, just pictures can work. So this one on the right, this is from Little Steps. So you have this in the student's book. So you could choose to use this instead of the video, before the video, after the video. There's also an audio version, but you might use this as a way to predict or remember or guess or play a game with the pictures. Or, you know, even from the younger stages, and I've shown here on the left, children learn so much just from handling books in that pre-literate stage. They're learning about what a book is, you know, how we hold it, how we turn the page, and just kind of miming and learning about the act of reading before they start taking part in it. And because we're in an English classroom, throughout any of these creative ideas and activities, we can be adding in support, talking to children about what they're doing, asking questions and feeding in language here and there. And I wanted to share with you now some really interesting research. I think we need research so that we understand why what we're doing works. I think it can be very reassuring and very validating. So I want to share some research that I think is really, really important. And this was looking at the impact of pretend play on vocabulary production. Okay, it was done with 4 and 5-year-olds over a period of 4 to 5 months, and the children were divided into 2 groups. Group 1, the teacher spent 30 minutes reading a story with some vocabulary instruction in just the way we've been talking about here. Lots of interaction, pictures, pointing things out, practicing, getting the children involved. In the second group, the teacher did that, but for a shorter time. And then after that, there was a 10-minute slot of pretend play that related to the story. So I've included one of the scripts from the research here. You can see the story was about making a cake, and then after, the children pretended that they were baking a cake. So what do you think were the results of the research? What do you think were the differences between these two groups? And I'll tell you again, the researchers were looking at how well could children recall the target vocabulary after having interacted with it in these two ways. What do you think the differences might have been? Well, I'll tell you that in both cases, there were improvements in vocabulary production of the target language, but the greatest improvement was in group 2. So where the children had been engaged in pretend play. Very interesting. So what can we learn from this? Well, definitely this direct instruction works. And that is reinforced and made even better when we add in creative play. So I love this, because isn't it everything that we feel we instinctively know as teachers? And here is the research to back this up. So this type of play in the research was not really free play, which is where children are, just off having their time, choosing exactly what they want to do, but somewhere in the middle you'd call guided play. So the children were given some instructions. They still made choices and had fun and did it in their own way. But it just shows us how different types of play really can benefit children's learning. And I do want to mention quickly another piece of research which focused on benefits of free play, and this is Saracho in 2011, who found that play supports the development of children's emergent literacy skills. So again, it was preschoolers. They were letting children play in literacy enhanced environments. So places where there were books, where there were things to write with and draw with, and where there were things that were labeled as well. So children were surrounded by reading and writing materials. Children were informed about the different things they could do in these play centres, and they found that this did wonders for their pre-literacy skills. So all of this creativity works. That's my message there. All right, let's move. And I'm agreeing with Omar. I love how teachers are participating in the chat as well. Let's keep it coming. And let's move on now to drama. So we're already talking about role play and so on, aren't we? Well, and somebody mentioned mime too. So I'm sure this is something you like to do with children in your class. And I've just taken, again, an example here from a lesson in Little Steps. Children are learning toys, and there's an activity which the teacher would lead, miming, playing with a toy, and the children can guess what the toy is that the teacher's playing with. So I'd like your ideas. What do you use mime games for? What are you getting children to show and do and practice when you use mimes? And this is something I talk about at lots of different levels, not only preschool. I think mime is a wonderful way to show understanding, to be creative, and to interact and have fun with other learners. So what do you get learners to mime? Let me know in the chat. So is it particular types of vocabulary, or think about acting things out? Yes, so yes, that's it, Lucia. So moving, action verbs, running, jumping, yes, wonderful. TPR as well, isn't it? Yeah, sports, that's a great one, isn't it? Thank you, Sandra. Okay, Alejandra, you don't like the mimes. Okay, to the children. Thank you. Actions, words, yes. What else? Very nice, Sophia. So thinking about adjectives, that can work really well. can't it? And just choosing two and contrasting them, big and small, is a great one. Loud and quiet as well, you can have fun with. Animal sounds, thank you, Jessica. Animals as well, yes. I have to say, I ended up once doing an insects mime in a class of little ones. I didn't expect it to happen, but we had a lot of emergent vocabulary there as the children were crawling around because they wanted to be ladybirds and slugs and snails. What else do we have? Emotions, Maria, thank you for mentioning that. So social emotional learning, very important. And Michaela, yes, so mime can be used in a brain break, so it doesn't have to have kind of a targeted activity, but just releasing some energy. Really nice ideas, yeah. Oh, I like that one too, Sophia, family members, yes. I'm going to put some ideas up on the screen. Have we mentioned these? Alejandra, that's great. Ah, I've got you. So miming things you don't like, I understand now, yes. So food you like and food you don't like, got it. Yes, I think we mentioned all of these. Oh yes, I was thinking of places. So getting children to act out what you do in different places. So that could be places in the home, different rooms. So you could have different parts of the classroom. So here's the kitchen, here's the bedroom, here's the living room, and here's the, I don't know, bathroom. And then children go to that part, that room, and then they can act and pretend what they're doing. You don't need really any props for this. Imaginations are enough. I wonder if you know this game. So fish in the circle. And again, I've taken this from Little Steps teachers' books, but there's lots of different variations of this. So this involves children being assigned a different animal. So in a class, you'd probably have 3 different animals. If you have a class of however many children you've got, everyone has an animal, but there's only 3 different types. So we've got some children are fish, some children are dogs, some children are tigers. Everybody gets a headband or a picture to hold to remember which animal they are. They walk in a circle. Maybe we can use music or rhythm or clapping or whatever we're using as drums. And then when the music stops or when the teacher says stop, the teacher shouts out an animal and those children go in the middle and they act out what that animal does. So the fish can go in and wiggle and the dogs can go in and play or roll over or whatever animals you've chosen. So this is a really nice fun game. And again, I'm sure you're thinking, yes, I do something similar, just slightly different. Yes. Oh, I can see Alejandra, we've got a kids box fan there. Yes, lots of songs and rhymes as well. Yeah, love rhymes and chants. Okay, so how about puppets? So puppets is a way to use drama in the classroom and acting out. Your ideas, I want to hear how you're using puppets to foster children's creativity. So what are we doing with puppets in our classrooms? Love using puppets. I've got different ones there to think about. I've got finger puppets there. I've taken those from the teacher's book. They're characters in a book. I've also got sock puppets. I think, again, we don't need to have the most beautiful professional looking puppets. Anything works. And how are we using them? Yes, storytelling, learning words, learning verbs. Yes, greetings, absolutely. Introducing themselves. Yes, so puppets can be a model for children, can't they? Modeling out the language and phrases we'd like them to use. There's really nothing they can't do apart from move on their own. Right, likes or dislike. Okay, I mean, really, I'm expecting the chat to go mad here because we've got stories, action verbs, routines. Yes, so helping the children know what's happening now. The puppet maybe is the signal to know what to do next. It's circle time, it's story time, it's table time. Maria, use them for vocabulary. Yes, so they can lead the games or ask the children questions. Oh my goodness, so many things to do with puppets. But I was thinking here, first of all, about making them. So as a craft activity, from the simplest thing, socks or gloves, or cut out finger puppets, or just, drawing a face on your fingers and using those as finger puppets. Maybe a puppet show for children to enjoy or put on as a class. And children, I think, naturally use toys as puppets, don't they? And give them personalities and characters and act out situations with them. I think that's a really useful way for us to use puppets as well, isn't it? Not just in telling children what to do next, but maybe reenacting a situation, teaching a lesson, teaching about behaviour. And yes, absolutely, all the way through here, we're thinking about opportunities for language development. So in the process of making the puppet, interacting with children, using English words, describing things they're using, colours, praising, and also when they're playing with the puppet as well, so asking questions. Maybe you have a class puppet. I'm a big fan of these. I always talk about this. So I've got Tickles here from Little Steps. Who has a class puppet or mascot? And what's the name? Let us know in the chat. What is your class puppet or mascot? Is it a toy? Is it a puppet? And what do they do for you? Oh, right, I see. We've got some class puppets. We've got a fox. We've got a big bird. Wonderful. So I've got Tickles here from the Little Steps series, but any class mascot will do. Yeah, I want to hear more. What are the other mascots you've got? An owl, thank you. Deanne, you've got the Hungry Caterpillar. Yes, so they often come with books, don't they? And they're lovely plushies we can use in our class as well. So many of these things you've been talking about, we've mentioned already, using our puppet as another way to communicate with children and to help children to communicate. It can be quite a motivator, can't it? Getting children to talk to the puppet or whisper things to the puppet, or maybe the puppet can whisper something to them, only they know. What is it? And get the child to tell us what they said. Maybe your puppet has special powers. Maybe it's a behavior regulator, so they'll only come out when it's quiet. So do you have a puppet like that? Maybe you have a naughty puppet that hides somewhere every day and the children have to sit quietly until he's ready to come out. So many different ways to use those, and using all of these, using children's imagination and creativity. And the language aspect here is interesting. So you might have a puppet that translates, or you might have a puppet that only speaks English, or you might have a puppet where it's fine to speak in the children's native language. So lots and lots of different ways of using puppets. And you've got the star family, Alejandra, wonderful. Okay, and things I didn't mention there is the puppet as a toy, so as a comfort as well. Okay, well, we're already talking about art and craft, so I want to continue talking about it. We've talked about making things and drawing in time to music and making puppets as well. Let's think about different types of art, and I have a question for you. What kind of art can children make with their bodies? Well, let's watch the video and find out.
Can we make art with our bodies? Can you dance? I can. I can dance with my arms and my legs. I can jump up and down. Can you paint? I can. I can paint with my finger. I can paint with my hands. I can make models with my hands too. Look, it's a house.
All right, so let's start as teachers thinking out of the box. So I've taken this video from one of the unit starters. This unit of the book is all about what can we do with our bodies, and children are learning about all the things, the wonderful things our bodies can do, and not just jumping and running, but also making things, dancing and being creative. Can you see in the video how many of the things that we've already talked about today are mentioned on the video? So what can children do? Well, lots of ideas in the video, and Joyce has also mentioned in here creating shapes. So creating shapes, actually using their body to create shapes as well, Joyce, that's a wonderful idea. In the video, we saw some, I want to say body art, but you know what I mean, painting hands and feet, walking across paper and making a class poster perhaps with handprints. Really nice to do as a group class activity, aren't there? As you've said, yes, making shapes together, making music with our bodies. I love that, Maria. Making a picture on the floor as well in shape. So have you ever done that? So as well as, you know, human statues, if you like, is getting, you know, you could have some grass on the floor, and then one child could be a tree, but instead of standing, they're lying down with their arms up, recreating a story or making their own story. So much fun to have there, making art with their bodies. Let's think about how we can use arts and crafts now to link in with numeracy. So we're thinking cross-curricular here. Learners are learning about the concept of numbers, but also they're learning the numbers in English. So what kinds of activities do you do for this? I'm going to bring some up on the screen. Have you done any of these? Would you like to do any of these? What are children doing here? So they're noticing, making shapes with their hands. So this early mark making, which can be done in coloured rice or sand or salt even, using things from nature to count and collect. I love this game with the picking out coloured balls and putting the right number of coloured balls on the plates. Maybe you've tried this. What else have you tried? Integrating numeracy and creativity. So many ways to do it. And songs as well. We didn't even mention music, absolutely. Counting out craft materials. So it's a creative activity. We're bringing in some numeracy as you're walking around the classroom. One for you, one for you, one for you. Asking children how many things, how many crayons do you have? Asking them to show you. Can you find 2 of these things? And then introducing sequencing. So 1, we're going to do this. Then 2, we're going to do this. And then bringing this in as well to checking and understanding and starting to think about time limits. So at preschool, this doesn't mean anything to the children. They can't manage their time. They don't know about it, but starting to introduce these concepts and ideas and games. There we go. Bingo, hopscotch, counting together. Yes. Singing number games. Wonderful. Okay. Let's move from numeracy now to letters and alphabets. Oh, and there we go, playing shop with money. There we are. Fantastic. Thank you, Anna. Counting out money. Alphabets. So again, I've taken this from one of the Little Steps books, where children who are learning and making marks with letters, but also making a beautiful book when they start to encounter new letters. How can children decorate these pictures? Colouring, sticking, gluing, collages. I want to think about how can they make letters for themselves. Do you do this? Get your learners making letters. Maybe you get them to make letters with their bodies on the floor. How about some craft activities like these? So we've got stickers, things from nature. I love the rice here and revealing the letter. And we've got yarn letters as well. And the one on the left, that's coloured salt. So a little bit of food colouring. So many things to do here. Now we can't talk about art without mentioning colour. Of course, 1,000 things we can do with colour. But I've taken this as inspiration from a lesson learning about the concept of things being, different things being the same colour. So getting children to collect things in the classroom that are all green or all yellow. There are fun games we can play with this as well, right? Hold up something red or touch something blue. And then this can move on to more art activities. Colour collage. Again, an opportunity for classroom art. Tell me in the chat what you do with colour and with rainbows. The picture at the top is a nature scavenger hunt where children are looking for things in the school garden, if you have one, that are that colour. Just make sure it's okay to take things from the school garden before you do that activity. All right. Yes, there we, thank you, Julia. So Simon says, or maybe the puppet says, so touching something blue, touching something yellow. Even Simon says, hold up 2 fingers or hold up 1 hand. Yeah, really nice. And again, as we've been saying, as children are in this readiness moment, they're fully engaged in this activity, it's an opportunity for us to go into that stretching zone. Somebody mentioned earlier Vygotsky, absolutely. So thinking about scaffolding learning, so taking children, giving them little challenges, finding out what's in their minds. And here we need to think about the kinds of questions we can ask children or things we can say to them as they're doing a craft activity. Here's one where they're sticking things on a bear. This is from the unit about toys, and children are practicing their motor skills and their creativity. But here are some great opportunities for talk as well. We've got colours, so maybe we could be asking, which colour will you use? Or how many eyes does the bear have? Or do you remember this colour? And giving lots and lots of praise as well and guidance if they need it. And thank you. We've got mixing colours. Yes, Maria, absolutely. Really nice idea. Creating their new colours. Yes. Thank you. And whatever the creative activity we're asking children to do, we also need to think about our response to that. So I think this is particularly in terms of arts and crafts, because sometimes it turns out differently, doesn't it, from the way we might have expected. So thinking about how we respond to what children create. And here, the idea of growth mindset is really important. So perhaps you're familiar with the work of Carol Dweck, the importance of praising effort, praising the process, rather than just saying to children, you know, you're clever, you're smart, telling them what they've done that's good. So good listening, or good sticking there, or oh, you remembered that word from yesterday, well done, or oh, that it's such a bright, creative picture. And again, this brings us back to whole child development. So we may be thinking in our mind, oh, I actually thought we would do that and make, you know, a colour of the sun and put all the colours on it, but this child has chosen to do everything black in the picture. But that's okay. Everyone is learning in their own way, and we need to take a bit more of a holistic view. And I would say always with the little ones, be ready to be surprised. Okay, it's time to wrap up because it's very late for me and it will soon be after midnight. So let's sum up. We've talked about creativity and whole child development. Remember at the beginning, I was mentioning life competencies, preparing children for life. So being creative and creative thinking is important later in life, not just for learning now. We've talked about creativity as an opportunity to support language learning, not only for explicit vocabulary teaching, but for recycling, practicing vocabulary, creating opportunities where learners need new language. Remember the games and the mimes, and remember the research that we mentioned there as well. Don't forget that creativity is proven to enhance vocabulary production, and free play as well, also enhancing those pre-literacy skills. And we've looked at loads of creative activities. Can we remember the music, drama, arts and crafts, stories? You'll remember them better than me, I think. And let's finish with a few tips to take home. Is look for opportunities. So I think particularly when you're using a book, if there's a teacher's book, have a look in there. You might find a new idea that you hadn't thought of before, or look for an opportunity to try something that someone mentioned today and in this webinar. Keep activities short, keep them hands-on. You know this as preschool teachers, keep it simple. So don't feel you have to get the perfect craft materials. Work with what you've got. For dressing up, anything will do. You know, a cardboard box can be anything. Maybe ask parents for donations of clothes for the dressing up box. Definitely as well, talk to parents about how you're teaching their children creatively, so that they understand that where and why you're using play activities and creative activities and how it is enhancing their development as a whole child, and importantly their language skills they're very interested in too. Give lots and lots of support with creative activities as with any, so think about ways to introduce them. Find opportunities to use English during creative activities. We've talked about different ways to do that. Asking questions is one of them. And then finally, the way we respond to creativity in classroom, with promoting a growth mindset, praising process, praising progress, and making sure children are rewarded for their efforts. Right, okay. We've made it to not many minutes to spare, I think, Sabrina. So I'm bringing it to a close there, but I'm ready for questions.
Thank you so much, Claire. This was amazing, amazing. I really, really enjoyed this session. I think everyone here did as well. You gave us so many fun, creative, amazing ideas for teachers to implement in their classrooms with their teachers, with their children. So thank you very, very much. I don't think we have any questions. So thank you, Claire, again for being here today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sabrina. Have fun.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.